Okay, so I was reading this story,
Yeah.
and it just kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
You know how sometimes you just get this feeling about something?
Yeah.
Well, there was this paramedic, right? And she was at a family gathering, just like a casual, barbecue type thing.
Uh-huh.
And she takes one look at her father-in-law across the yard, and she knows something's not right.
Oh, wow.
Now he's telling everyone he feels fine, totally fine.
Okay, so like what was it? Like a vibe?
That's the thing. She couldn't explain it.
Yeah.
It was like a gut feeling, she said. Later, she said it was like an alarm bell going off in her head.
Wow.
But she insisted he go to the hospital.
Mm.
And guess what?
What?
Turns out he had this massive artery blockage.
Oh my God.
Like he needed emergency surgery right then and there.
So she basically saved his life.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
Like, how did she know? It's like some kind of sixth sense or something.
It really is. And you know what's really fascinating is that this isn't just some fluke or, something limited to paramedics. You actually see this kind of unconscious expertise popping up in all sorts of fields.
Yeah. Like what?
Well, think about a military analyst, okay? They can be looking at radar data and just instinctively know that there's something off a pattern that signals a potential missile launch.
Oh, wow.
Or an art curator who can spot a fake painting just by feel.
Really? Just by feel?
The way the brushstrokes are applied, the texture of the paint, they can just tell something's not quite right, even before any scientific analysis is done.
That's wild.
It is. And even radiologists, they've been known to pick up on subtle signs of a stroke
Yeah.
before it's even fully clear on the scan.
So they're seeing things that, like, a less experienced eye wouldn't even notice.
Exactly. It's like they've developed this almost superhuman ability to see these tiny little details, these cues that most people wouldn't even register.
It's like our brains are working on this whole other level that we're not even aware of.
Precisely.
Like they're constantly taking in information, analyzing it, searching for those patterns and connections.
And the thing is, the more we experience something, the better our brains get at recognizing those patterns.
Right. Practice makes perfect.
Exactly. And so our brains become these incredibly efficient prediction machines. They're always anticipating what's going to happen next based on all our past experiences.
Wow. So we're basically walking around with these supercomputers in our heads.
That's a great way to put it. And this whole idea of pattern recognition and prediction, it's not just some, cool party trick.
Right.
This is actually the foundation of how we form habits. It's the basis for learning and adapting to the world.
So you're saying that our habits are basically built on these patterns that our brains have picked up on.
Absolutely. And think about how much of what we do every day is just totally automatic.
Oh, yeah, like breathing.
Exactly. Breathing, heartbeat, digestion, our hair growing. We don't have to consciously think about any of that stuff. It just happens.
Right. It's like our bodies are just running these programs in the background.
And that frees up our conscious minds to focus on other things.
Okay, that makes sense.
So this all brings us to the core of what we're diving into today. We're going to be talking about Chapter 5.
Right, which is all about...
The first law of habit change, make it obvious.
Okay, so make it obvious. What does that actually mean when it comes to our habits?
Well, one of the things that really blew my mind when I first started learning about this was that a habit can be triggered even if you're not consciously aware of the cue.
Like, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so think about this. Have you ever suddenly felt hungry, like out of nowhere?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Or like a craving for something specific, like chocolate or chips or whatever?
Yeah, definitely.
So in those moments, your body is actually responding to these internal signals, hormonal shifts, changes in blood sugar, things that are happening below the level of your conscious awareness.
Okay, so it's not like I'm consciously thinking, oh, I want chocolate. It's just this urge that appears out of thin air.
Exactly. And because habits get so deeply ingrained through repetition, they can just take over without us even realizing it.
It's like they're running on autopilot.
Exactly.
So I could be going about my day and then, boom, I'm suddenly doing something without even thinking about it.
Precisely. Like, have you ever caught yourself covering your mouth when you laugh?
Oh, yeah, actually, I do that.
Or saying sorry, like 100 times a day?
Oh, my God, yeah. My wife is always telling me I apologize too much.
It's funny how those little habits can become so automatic.
It's like they're hardwired into our system.
And every time we repeat a habit, it strengthens those neural pathways in our brains, making it even more likely that we'll do it again without thinking.
Okay, so the more we do something, the less we think about it.
Right, which means we become less likely to question whether it's actually a good thing to be doing.
That's a good point.
And there are some pretty crazy stories out there that illustrate just how powerful these automatic behaviors can be.
Yeah, like what?
Well, there was this retail clerk who was trained to cut up used gift cards to prevent fraud, right?
Makes sense.
So one day she's at the register, and completely on autopilot, she takes a customer's credit card and just snips it in half.
Oh, no.
The customer was understandably not thrilled.
Too bad.
And then there was this preschool teacher who got a new job in a corporate office.
Okay.
But she kept asking her adult colleagues if they had washed their hands after using the restroom.
Oh, my God.
It's like her brain was still stuck in preschool mode.
That's hilarious.
It is. But it also shows just how deeply ingrained these habits can become, even in situations where they make absolutely no sense.
Yeah, I guess we're all creatures of habit in one way or another.
Absolutely. And here's the key takeaway. All those cues in our environment, the things that trigger our habits, they become so commonplace that we barely even notice them anymore.
Like what kind of cues?
Well, think about the snacks on the kitchen counter.
Oh,
The
yeah.
TV remote just sitting there, your
Yeah.
phone buzzing with notifications.
Guilty as charged.
But we're bombarded with these cues all the time, and they become so normal to us that we don't even realize they're influencing our behavior.
It's like they're invisible.
Exactly. And that's why awareness is so crucial. If we want to change our habits, we first have to become aware of what those habits are and what's triggering them.
Makes sense. But how do we do that? Like if we're not even aware of what we're doing most of the time.
That's where things get tricky. But it's not impossible.
Okay, I'm listening.
Have you ever heard of the Japanese railway system?
Vaguely. I know they're known for being super efficient.
Exactly. They have one of the best safety records in the world. And one of the reasons for that is this fascinating practice they call pointing and calling.
Okay, I've definitely never heard of that. What is it?
So basically, train conductors and platform staff, they physically point at crucial signals, speedometers, timetables, anything important. And as they're pointing, they also verbally call out what they're seeing. All clear, speed 60, things like that.
Okay, that sounds kind of unusual.
It might seem strange, but it's incredibly effective.
Really?
Yeah, studies have shown that pointing and calling can reduce errors by something like 85%
Wow, that's significant.
and accidents by around 30%.
It's amazing that such a simple thing can make such a huge difference.
It is. And even when the New York City subway system adopted a modified point-only system, they saw a big drop in incorrect train berthing incidents.
So what's the thinking behind why pointing and calling works so well?
Well, it basically forces you to be more conscious of what you're doing by engaging multiple senses at the same time: sight, touch, hearing.
Okay.
You're bringing those normally unconscious actions into the spotlight.
Interesting.
It's like you're saying to your brain, hey, pay attention to this. This is important.
So it's like a way of snapping yourself out of autopilot.
Exactly. And you know what? This actually reminds me of my wife.
Oh, how so?
Well, she has this little ritual she does before we leave the house for any trip. She goes through this verbal checklist out loud. Keys, wallet, phone, tickets.
Okay.
Husband.
No.
She includes you in the checklist. Yep. I guess I'm important enough not to be left behind.
Well, that's good to know.
But you know what? It actually works because the more automatic something becomes, the easier it is to overlook.
Right. Like we just assume we have everything because we always do.
And that's when mistakes happen.
So her little checklist helps her to stay focused and avoid those mistakes.
Precisely.
That's a great idea. Maybe I should start doing that.
And this is actually something you see a lot in different areas of life. This lack of self-awareness can really trip people up.
Yeah, I can see that.
So what we need is a way to bring those unconscious habits into our conscious attention.
Okay, so how do we do that?
That's where the habit scorecard comes in.
Habit scorecard. What's that?
It's basically your own personal point and call system.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So the first step is pretty simple. You make a list of all your daily habits.
Like everything.
Everything. From the moment you wake up until you go to bed.
Wow. Okay, so like brushing my teeth, making coffee, checking my phone.
Exactly. Every little thing.
Okay, and then what?
Once you have your list, you go through each habit and ask yourself, is this a good habit, a bad habit, or a neutral habit?
So I'm judging my own habits.
In a way, yeah. But try to be objective about it.
Okay.
And then you label each habit with a plus sign for good, a minus sign for bad, or an equal sign for neutral.
Okay, so if I wanted to read more, I'd give reading a plus sign. And watching too much TV would be a minus sign.
Exactly.
And what about something like taking a shower? That's just neutral, right?
Yeah, probably. Unless you're trying to conserve water, then it might be a minus.
Okay, so it really depends on your individual goals.
Exactly.
Makes sense. And are good habits always good and bad habits always bad? Or is it a bit more
Okay.
complicated than that?
Yeah, it's definitely more nuanced than that. It's not always black and white.
Okay.
Sometimes a bad habit can actually be helpful in certain situations.
Like how?
We'll take stress eating, for example.
Right.
It's not exactly healthy in the long run,
Right.
but it might provide some temporary relief from stress in the moment.
So it's solving a problem in a way, just
Right.
not a very healthy way.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that all habits, even the ones we want to break, they serve some kind of purpose for us.
Hmm. That's interesting.
So instead of just labeling something as good or bad, it's more helpful to think about whether it's effective or ineffective at helping you achieve your goals.
Okay, I like that. So it's not about being perfect. It's about finding what works.
Exactly.
And how does the whole habit scorecard thing tie into this idea of effective versus ineffective habits?
Well, here's a question to ask yourself as you're going through your habits. Does this behavior help me become the type of person I want to be?
Oh, that's a good one.
Like, is
Yeah.
it moving you closer to your ideal self?
Hmm.
Or is it taking you further away?
So if I want to be a healthier person,
Mm,
eating junk food would be a vote against that.
exactly. And working out would be a vote for it.
Right. Okay, I'm starting to see how this all fits together.
Good. And once you've got your list of habits and you've labeled them, the next step is just to observe.
Just observe.
Yeah, without judgment. Just notice what you're doing throughout the day.
Okay, so I'm like a scientist observing my own behavior.
Exactly.
But why is that so important?
Because before you can change anything, you have to become aware of it.
Makes sense.
Like, you can't fix a leaky faucet if you don't even know it's leaking.
That's a good analogy.
And if you find yourself struggling to be more aware in the moment,
Uh-huh.
that's where you can start using that pointing and calling technique we talked about earlier.
Oh, right. So how would I apply that to my own life?
Well, let's say you catch yourself about to do something you're trying to avoid.
Like reaching for that bag of chips.
Exactly. So you would just say out loud what you're about to do and why you don't want to do it.
So I'd be like, I'm about to eat these chips, but I know they're not good for me, and I'm trying to eat healthier.
Exactly. The act of saying it out loud can really help to break that automatic cycle.
It's like you're interrupting the program.
Precisely. And it makes the consequences feel more real.
I could see how that would be helpful.
And you can use this technique for positive habits, too.
Oh, yeah, like, I'm going to go for a run now because it will make me feel good and it's good for my health.
Exactly.
I like it. It's like giving yourself a pep talk.
And you know what? Sometimes just the act of saying something out loud can help you to remember it.
Oh, yeah, like if I need to pick up milk from the store, I'll say it out loud a few times.
Exactly. It helps to solidify the intention.
Okay, so to sum up this whole chapter, it's all about awareness, right?
Absolutely. Awareness is the foundation of any behavior change.
And the habit scorecard and pointing and calling are tools that can help us to become more aware.
Exactly.
Okay, so to bring it all back to that story about the paramedic who saves her father-in-law's life, it sounds like she was tapping into this incredible power of unconscious expertise.
Yeah, it's like her brain was picking up on these subtle cues that something was wrong, even though she couldn't consciously explain it.
And maybe if we all paid more attention to those subtle cues, we could unlock some of that unconscious expertise in ourselves.
I think you're right.
So here's a final thought for you to ponder as you go about your day. What hidden patterns might you be able to uncover in your own life if you started paying closer attention?
And once you become aware of those patterns, what will you do with that knowledge?
It's like a whole new world of possibilities opens up.
Exactly.
The power to change is in your hands.
Or rather, in your mind.
You got it. Thanks for joining me for another deep dive.
It's always a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep learning.